Do you want to know what truly sets high IQ people apart from everyone else? It's not luck, talent, or memory. It's their daily habits. The way they think, act, and respond to the world gives them an edge few ever notice. In this video, you'll discover 7 powerful habits of highly intelligent people. From mastering emotions to embracing failure, from loving solitude to questioning everything. These are the exact strategies that make their minds faster, sharper, and unstoppable. Watch closely, because adopting even a few of these habits can completely transform how you think and succeed. Number 1. They observe more than they speak. A truly smart person doesn't talk over everyone else, they listen. They look at how people say things, how they sound, and how they don't. They know that every time they are quiet, they can learn something new. Epictetus once observed, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can hear more than we say." That isn't just old wisdom. It's a rule for mastering your mind. People with high IQs recognize that talking without thinking shows that you don't know what you're talking about, whereas paying attention helps you understand. They don't just hear, they figure it out. When others want to show off their opinions, the smart mind looks at the big picture. It watches how individuals think, what makes them angry, and what they stay away from. This practice of watching offers them an edge in conversations, negotiations, and even fights. Being calm isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of power. People with high IQs don't rush to take over the conversation when they arrive into a room. They just watch. To them, every little movement, change in tone, and pause means something. Not only does their mind remember what was said, it also figures out why it was said, how it was stated, and what wasn't mentioned. Their superpower is observation, which lets them see people, patterns, and intentions with amazing accuracy. Most people listen to respond, but smart people listen to learn. They pay attention to how someone's eyes move when they talk, how their tone changes when they're frightened, or how their hands shake a little when they're not sure. They gather information that most people don't notice. For a person with a high IQ, human behavior is always giving them new information. Every word, every quiet, and every reaction makes the world around them clearer. Epictetus once observed, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can hear more than we say." This short statement sums up what it means to be a cognitive master. Smart people know that talking is easy, but listening is an art. When you talk, you say what you already know. When you listen, you let in something new. That's how intelligence grows, by watching, not by saying. People with high IQs know that being quiet isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of knowledge. They know that watching first gives them control over the event. This offers them a tactical advantage in conversations. Some people rush to fill the stillness with their thoughts and feelings, while smart people let the quiet last. They let other people show who they really are, their biases, concerns, and desires, without asking any questions. Seneca once remarked, "The most powerful person is the one who has control over himself." The same idea of self-control is where observation starts. Before clever people watch other people, they learn how to watch themselves. They pay attention to how they feel and act when they're stressed, including why they get angry or anxious. This self-observation helps people become aware of their feelings, which stops others from being able to control or incite them. Once you know how you feel, no one can use it against you. That's why people with high IQs seem calm even when things are crazy. They don't simply see what's going on, they feel the underlying rhythm behind it. Their awareness serves as a barrier between input and response. They stop when other people get angry. They check things out when other people panic. This isn't being detached, it's thinking on purpose. The mind says, "I will do something when I understand it, not when I'm upset." One of the smartest Stoic emperors, Marcus Aurelius, lived by this. He was surrounded by advisors, soldiers, and opponents, so he watched more than he talked. Meditations, his notebook, told him to observe what men's minds are made of, what they seek and what they avoid. He knew that if you watch someone long enough, you can see their whole character. Not just what they say, but also what they do all the time. This old idea is backed up by modern psychology. Research indicates that clever individuals are more perceptive of micro-expressions and emotional signals, enabling them to absorb non-verbal information with greater speed and accuracy. It's not a coincidence that the best leaders, negotiators, and thinkers are frequently quiet observers. They've taught their brains to take in information before they do anything. Observation also helps smart people see patterns in life, like how people act, how businesses work, and even how they feel. When you take a step back and really look, you start to see patterns. Who constantly complains, who always lies, what situations cause fights, and what decisions bring calm. This awareness turns into knowledge over time, since you don't just react to life anymore, you expect it. The Stoics said that real intellect is the ability to view things as they are, without letting your ego or feelings get in the way. You can get such clarity by watching. When you pay attention, you stop putting your wants on the world and start seeing it for what it is. That's why people with high IQs don't only hear, they also figure things out. They don't simply see, they understand. They see every situation as a chance to learn. A case study for each person. Every quiet moment is a chance. They can learn things without trying by watching. They can also plan their steps through life while others trip over noise. So when you meet someone who doesn't talk much yet seems to know a lot, you're not looking at mystery, you're looking at mastery. Because people with high IQs know something that most others will never understand. Knowledge doesn't yell, it watches. Number 2, they question everything. Intelligence is fueled by curiosity. People with high IQs don't like replies that aren't very deep. They break situations down, examine what they believe, and look beyond what they can see. Socrates, the father of philosophical inquiry, centered his whole system around asking questions. His well-known saying, "The unexamined life is not worth living," shows how smart people are always curious. They always question why. What makes this work? Why do people think this? What is the purpose of this system? They ask why again when they find an answer. This round of questioning helps them find deeper realities that most people miss. Seneca once said, "If you don't know where you're going, no wind will help you." Questioning gives you direction by separating truth from illusion and keeping your smart mind focused on what it wants to do instead of what it thinks it should do. This behavior doesn't make people doubt. It makes them look for answers. They don't want to fight. They want to learn. Every thought is a living entity to an intelligent mind. It should be looked at, evaluated, and understood from all sides. They never believe something is true just because a lot of people do, or it makes them feel better. They don't challenge authority, culture, or even their own beliefs to be rebellious. They do it because they really want to know why things are the way they are. People with high IQs don't perceive questioning as a fight. They see it as a way to learn more. They know that curiosity is what makes growth possible, both for themselves and for society as a whole. The first inquiry that led to every significant discovery, from philosophy to science, was why, or what if. That is the mental characteristic of intelligence, not accepting reality as it is, but instead seeing it as something that can always be better understood, developed, and enhanced. Socrates was quite good at this. He didn't say he knew the truth. He said he didn't know anything, and that made him the smartest person in Athens. Using the Socratic method, he asked basic yet deep questions that made people think and showed how things didn't add up. He didn't want to win disputes, he wanted to make people aware. He did not see questioning as an act of resistance, he saw it as an act of learning. The Stoics echoed this way of thinking hundreds of years later. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. What we perceive is just a point of view, not the truth." People with high IQs live by this idea. They recognize that most of what we think is truth is really just our feelings, biases, and the way we were raised. They take away the illusion by asking questions and showing what's genuine. People that are smart often annoy others because they won't accept simple answers. When the typical person answers, "That's just how it is," the smart person says, "But why is it that way?" They realize that accepting anything without comprehending it makes them ignorant, which is the one thing their intellect can't bear. Seneca said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." This is a fantastic way to define their inner compass. Asking questions offers them direction. They don't just live, they live with purpose. They don't just do things, they do them on purpose. They use reason to look at every belief, choice, and habit they have. They throw away things that don't stand up to close examination. This habit of asking questions also applies to yourself. Smart people always question their own ideas. They wonder if they are being logical or passionate. Am I operating on logic or on my ego? This mental discipline helps them stay humble and flexible. They change because they don't want to stay the same mentality. Epictetus once told his students, "There are 4 kinds of things that the mind sees. Things are what they seem to be, they are not what they seem to be, they are what they seem to be, or they are not what they seem to be." To put it another way, reality has layers, and you can only see clearly by asking questions. People with high IQs naturally follow this rule. They have an almost obsessive need to find out what's really going on behind the scenes. The ability to think about your own thinking is called metacognition in modern psychology. It's the mental engine that drives new ideas, creativity, and critical thinking. People with high IQs use this to keep improving their ideas. They aren't frightened to be wrong since they regard it as a chance to learn. This is why smart people are often misjudged. People could think they are being rude or arrogant when they keep asking questions. But really, it's bravery. The bravery to not just embrace comfort above the truth. The Stoics thought this kind of intellectual courage was important since it sprang from virtue. They thought that wisdom wasn't about knowing everything, it was about always trying to learn more. Socrates stated, "Wonder is the start of wisdom." And this is where a questioning mind is at its best, in wonder. They enjoy being curious, finding new things, and understanding. Their thoughts are like lanterns that light up every dark nook they come across. This doesn't ruin the mystery, it just makes it easier to see. Don't believe someone is overthinking when they always question why. It's a sign that your mind won't rust. People with high IQs know something basic but important. Your mind stops growing when you stop asking questions. Number 3. They love solitude. Most people want noise, music, talking, and constant scrolling because solitude makes them feel bad. But the very smart mind knows that silence is not empty. It is a vessel. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It's where profound thought, creativity, and insight are formed. It's a place where people with high IQs go to learn more about the world, not to get away from it. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, penned his meditations all by himself. These weren't supposed to be admired by the public. They were private thoughts put down when he was alone. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more peaceful place to be than in his own soul, he stated. That one statement tells you everything you need to know about how smart people think. Their best discussions happen in their heads. Being alone helps them see connections that other people miss. When they go quiet, they're not escaping life. They're looking at it from a higher point of view. They think about their choices, look at actions, and think about topics that need their whole attention. In those moments, they recognize how things that don't seem to be related are actually connected. This is a sign of true intellect. People with high IQs know that too much stimulation is bad for deep thinking. Every notification, chat, and distraction makes it harder to focus. Being alone puts those pieces back together. It's where the brain takes a break, reorganizes, and gets ready for more complex thinking. Neuroscience backs this up. The British Journal of Psychology showed that smart people often don't enjoy socializing as much as other people do. Their brains are programmed to prefer introspection over interaction because being alone turns on the default mode network, which is the part of the brain that controls imagination, memory, and self-awareness. That's why some of the smartest people in history, including Newton and Nikola Tesla, spend a lot of time alone. When the Great Plague drove Newton to leave Cambridge and be alone, he had his most revolutionary ideas on gravity. Tesla once remarked, "Be alone, that is the secret of invention. Be alone, that is when ideas are born." For them, quiet was not an escape. It was their creative weapon. People with high IQs also know that being alone helps them control their emotions better. When you are alone, you face your thoughts without any filters. You find out what scares you, what you do wrong, and what sets you off. Most people don't want to deal with that, so they drown it out with noise. But smart people deal with it. They think about their feelings instead of acting on them right away. That's why they seem calm even when things are hard. Being alone has already taught them how to handle chaos inside themselves before it gets to the outside world. Seneca reportedly said, "If you are everywhere, you are nowhere." This is why smart people choose carefully where to put their time and attention. They don't worry about missing out. They worry about wasting their mental energy. Being alone helps people think clearly about what they want to do instead of being pulled in by distractions. It's the basis of mental discipline, the difference between reacting and responding, and between moving and making progress. And there's another aspect to this habit. Being alone helps you become more self-sufficient. People with high IQs don't need frequent praise or social interaction to feel good about themselves. They build their own confidence. They don't need applause to know they're worth it. They already know themselves, including their strengths, flaws, and values. That self-awareness makes them almost impossible to break. So if you see someone who is happy sitting alone and reading, thinking, or pondering, you are probably seeing a quiet genius at work. They don't hate people. They aren't shy. They're getting better. They realize that the intellect only gets sharper when it is still. Don't fill the silence with noise the next time you're alone yourself. Get rid of the distractions. Give your thoughts a break, because in that quiet, you might find the thoughts and truths that the noise of the world has been covering up. Intelligence does not flourish in talk or commotion. It grows in the peaceful depths of isolation. Number 4, they embrace failure as feedback. Smart people see data where others perceive failure. People with high IQs don't fear failure. They break it down. Mistakes aren't marks of weakness to them. They're important clues that show how to get better. Every mistake, every rejection, and every setback is feedback that shows you what you need to fix, improve, and strengthen. Seneca once said, "Hard times make the mind stronger, just like hard work makes the body stronger." That's not simply a nice thought, it's a way of thinking. Smart people work out their brains just like athletes work out their bodies. Every problem is a repeat, and every challenge is a new level of resistance. The more they face, the better they get at handling things. They don't see failure as an enemy, they see it as a teacher. Thomas Edison expressed it best when he remarked, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 things that don't work." That's what having a high IQ means, being persistent because you think things through. Edison didn't get upset when things went wrong, he saw them as research. This kind of thinking helps smart individuals stay calm when others fall apart. They don't take failure personally. They make it a part of the system. They want to know what went wrong. What can I change? What pattern am I not seeing? This ability to step back and look at things objectively is what helps them grow faster than people who give up after the first blow. This way of thinking doesn't just apply to inventors and philosophers. It applies to everything in life. People with high IQs don't feel bad about their failures in business, relationships, or choices. They get information. They search for things that could have been better, like timing, emotional bias, and the setting. They don't perceive failure as a dead end. They see it as an experiment with useful outcomes. This is in line with what experts term a growth mindset, which is the idea that you can get smarter and better by working hard and learning. People with high IQs naturally think this way. They know that being smart doesn't matter if you can't change. Their secret isn't just being brilliant, it's being able to turn misery into performance. Epictetus once said, "What matters is not what happens to you, but how you respond to it." This is what smart people do. They don't waste energy trying to avoid failing or blaming other people. They use that energy to try to grasp it better. This kind of emotional discipline turns failures into lessons. Every mistake is like a mirror that shows them what they still need to work on. They don't run away from that reflection. Instead, they look at it. This is why people with high IQs don't seem to mind things that are hard. They recognize that the hardest times in life aren't hurdles, but chances to grow. They don't want things to be perfect. They want things to get better. And because they think that way, they don't stay in the same place for very long. Every fall makes you stronger for the next time. When you start doing this, your whole point of view changes. You stop being afraid of mistakes and start looking for lessons in them. You know that every failure has a lesson in timing, strategy, patience, or humility. And those who learn from these things move up faster than those who spend time moaning about how unfair things are. Keep in mind that your intellect isn't shown by how well you do, but by how well you bounce back. The truly smart don't try to be perfect. They learn how to adapt. Number 5. They think long-term, not short-term. People with high IQs don't act on impulse. They think ahead. They know something that most others don't, that every choice we make today has an effect on what happens tomorrow. Most people want fast rewards and emotional satisfaction, while smart people build their life on a timescale that goes far beyond short-term pleasure. They see the wider picture, and their choices show that. Epictetus said, "No great thing is made all at once." People with high IQs live by that truth. They know that it takes years of attention, discipline, and self-control to become an expert. They put seeds in the ground where other people want fruit. Their forbearance is not a sign of weakness. It is a weapon. They have faith in the process because they realize that slow growth is growth that lasts. They'd rather build quietly for 10 years than achieve publicly for one day. This way of thinking about delayed gratification is quite psychological. The well-known marshmallow experiment and other studies from Stanford University demonstrated that youngsters who could wait for what they wanted tended to do better in life later on. People with high IQs seem to have that same inner discipline. They can put their feelings aside and make choices that are sensible and good for the long run. It's not that they don't feel anything. It's that they've learned to make judgments based on reason, not impulse. As both an emperor and a philosopher, Marcus Aurelius lived by this idea. He was often tempted to act on impulse because of the stress of war and politics, but he kept reminding himself in meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Long-term thinking is all about making sure that every little thing you do fits in with the bigger picture of who you want to be. People with high IQ know that the mind should serve the mission, not the moment. They realize that seeking short-term pleasure leads to long-term pain, but putting up with short-term discipline gives long-term tranquility. They put their money into things that will last, including health, self-control, wisdom, and relationships that are based on honesty. Over time, all the hours spent learning, the temptations avoided, and the emotions controlled add up to something amazing. Seneca famously remarked, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." Smart individuals pay attention to this. They don't let their energies get spread out across a lot of things that don't matter. They focus a lot because they know that time is the most important thing. They don't waste time chasing trends or trying to get approval. Instead, they use that time to get better at what they do, learn more, or find a better emotional balance. They know that patient, steady progress is what makes average work develop into amazing outcomes. People that are smart want to be successful, not just look successful. They do this quietly, intelligently, and in a way that will last. They play the infinite game, where the goal isn't to win quickly, but to keep getting smarter. This point of view makes them calm when others are scared, patient when others are in a hurry, and intelligent while others react. They don't think of success as sudden bursts of achievement. Instead, they think of it as extended arcs of change. They don't prepare for praise, they plan for their legacy. They know that time shows everything, the weak foundations of deeds taken on a whim and the strong foundations of activities taken on purpose. So when they run into problems, they don't ask, "How do I fix this now?" They question, "How will this choice affect me in 5 years?" That one change in how they see things keeps them grounded, strategic, and strong. It's not how quickly they can think that makes them smart. It's how far they can see. They don't care about the dopamine rush of winning today. They care about the overall wisdom of what will happen tomorrow. Because in the end, the best way to assess how smart someone is isn't how fast they think, but how well they see. The capacity to postpone immediate satisfaction, to strategize beyond emotional impulses, and to diligently build a future that reflects one's core principles. People with high IQs don't only think, they also make predictions. They don't simply live, they also build, and they do it one choice at a time. Number 6, they control their emotions. One of the things that really smart people don't pay enough attention to is how well they can control their emotions. They don't ignore them, they really comprehend them. They know that when emotions are not controlled, they can change how things look, make decisions harder, and make things less clear. Smart people know that logic and emotion are not enemies. They are partners who need to work together. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not the things that happen outside of it." If you understand this, you will discover strength. This Stoic principle is the basis for being able to control your emotions. People with high IQs live by this rule. They only worry about what they can control, which is how they react to the chaos around them. They stop when other people are scared. They think when they are angry. They don't let how other people act affect how they feel inside. This self-control provides them a lot of mental strength. People who are emotional are easier to foresee and control, but people who are calm are dangerous since they can't be controlled. Seneca made this point when he observed, "He who is angry is seldom right." Smart people know that anger, fear, and jealousy are like storms in the mind that make it hard to think clearly. They don't let these feelings take over. Instead, they watch them like a scientist would watch a reaction. They inquire, "Why do I feel this way? What made it happen? What belief is causing this feeling?" This analytical method turns emotional chaos into understanding. They don't hide their feelings, they deal with them. Suppression is a way to hide weakness. Knowledge is the real way to master something. Someone with a high IQ realizes that disregarding their feelings simply gives them power in the dark. So they make them aware of them, break them down, and learn from them. This emotional intelligence lets them behave with care while others act on impulse. Epictetus said that we can't control what happens outside of ourselves, but we can control how we think about it. People with high IQs show this insight in their daily lives. When someone insults them, they don't become angry. Instead, they think about who said it, why they said it, and whether or not it's worth it to react. They know that getting angry gives the other person power over their peace. They let it go, not because they were weak, but because they were better. Contemporary psychology corresponds with this Stoic understanding. Research indicates that emotional intelligence, the capacity to comprehend and manage emotions, exhibits a robust correlation with enhanced cognitive ability and superior decision-making. As they get smarter, smart people naturally learn how to understand and manage their emotions. They don't split the head and heart, they work together. This control also helps them keep focused on their long-term goals. They keep going while others give up in frustration. When other people look for short-term comfort, they put up with short-term pain for bigger rewards. Their ability to stay calm gives them an edge over their competitors. They do feel strongly, they just won't allow their feelings tell them what to do. Every day, Marcus Aurelius told himself that people will lie, cheat, and let him down, but none of it should bother the peace of his inner fortress. The key to emotional control is knowing that your inner world is yours and yours alone. No insult, failure, or fear has the right to enter there without permission. When you talk to someone, this emotional control shows as calm assurance. They listen more, say less, and think carefully about what they say. People respect them because they are so restrained. In a society where people are always angry, a calm mind stands out like a fortress in the middle of chaos. People with high IQs know that regulating their emotions isn't about seeming detached. It's about staying strategically centered. They utilize feelings to get information, not to tell them what to do. They use their energy wisely, keep their balance, and only do things when they make sense. Their tranquility isn't because they don't feel anything. It's because they have power. They realize that the person who controls their feelings controls their future. And that mastery, not intelligence, is what really makes a mind great. Number 7. They seek to understand, not to win. In every argument, discussion, or conversation, smart people put understanding ahead of their own ego. They recognize that being right in the moment may make them feel good about themselves, but it doesn't usually help them learn more. Real intelligence isn't about being able to win arguments. It's about being able to learn, change, and increase your understanding. Socrates lived by this rule his whole life. He never tried to win an argument. Instead, he asked questions, listened, and thought. Every discussion was a chance to find out what people were really thinking, question what they thought they knew, and bring to light things that were hidden. For him, communication was not a fight. It was a place to test ideas. The Stoics called this habit phronesis, which means practical wisdom. It's the ability to connect your thoughts with what's real and look for what's true instead of what's easy. People with high IQs think this way before every conversation. They are open to ideas that are different from their own, listen carefully, and ask tough questions. They don't need people to clap or agree with them. They just to be clear. This method is based on humility. The smart intellect knows that it doesn't know everything. Epictetus stated, "A man cannot learn what he thinks he already knows." People who are too proud to be wrong are stuck in their own heads, while people who want to understand are free to be curious. People with high IQs are always questioning their opinions and changing them when they get fresh facts or rationale. Their beliefs are based on reason, not pride, and they are willing to change their minds. This behavior also makes relationships and influence stronger. People naturally respect people who listen and try to understand instead of fight. The smart person learns about other people's motives, goals, and values by demonstrating a real interest in their points of view. This knowledge is much more valuable than the short-term pleasure of winning a discussion. They also know that life is a discussion where people share their thoughts, experiences, and lessons with each other all the time. Every interaction is a chance to learn something new, even if it confirms what they already know or makes them think about it in a different way. They keep pushing the limits of their minds by putting study ahead of power. The mind with a high IQ also knows that being arrogant is dangerous. When pride and intelligence are together, they become weak, defensive, and walled off. But when you combine intelligence with humility, you get something that is big, strong, and flexible. Smart people are sure of their logic, but aren't hesitant to change it. They don't hold on to their opinions to feel important or boost their ego. They hold on to the truth to grow. This habit makes disputes into learning experiences, debates into discoveries, and criticism into insights. They think before they act, answer carefully, and stay away from the emotional traps that many people fall into. So, the next time you disagree with someone, keep this in mind. The goal isn't to win the argument, it's to learn something new. People with high IQs don't lose when others disagree with them. They gain. They know that intellect is not about winning, but about understanding. Intellectual humility, curiosity, and the unending search for truth are what keep a mind sharp, flexible, and sensible in every situation. In a society where everyone wants to succeed, the smart person wants something much bigger: understanding, insight, and control over their thoughts. Having a high IQ isn't something that just a few people have. It's something that anyone can learn. Long before modern psychology, the Stoics knew that intellect comes from watching, thinking, being patient, and being in charge. Look more closely. Ask questions about everything. Value being alone. Accept failure. Think about the future. Keep your feelings under check. Choose understanding above winning. These habits make your mind stronger until wisdom becomes second nature and clarity becomes your normal condition. As Marcus Aurelius stated, don't waste any more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So don't only admire smartness, be it. Because true genius isn't born. He has built himself up one habit at a time.